Where did the handshake come from? Do you shake hands when you meet someone new? It's an action that feels so natural that we probably don't think about it much. But shaking hands isn't actually as common as you might think. In fact, anthropologists can't say with any certainty exactly where or when it started, but they do have some theories. One idea is that it originated with boxers who wanted to show that they weren't holding anything in their hands before a match. If you were carrying a weapon, you could conceal it in your clothing. But what if you walked up to your opponent with your arms fully extended, palms out, showing that you were empty-handed, and then gently touch his hand? This gesture showed that you had nothing to hide and hopefully convinced him to do the same. And once he did, you could both walk away from each other slowly, keeping your arms out and maintaining eye contact. If either person had wanted to attack the other, this would have been the perfect time. So by lowering your defenses and letting the other person get close enough to touch your chest, you were simultaneously showing trust and paying a sign of respect. Of course, there's no way to know for sure if that's what the handshake evolved from, but there is evidence that ancient people did something similar when they met. For example, the Assyrians did a kind of handshake when they made peace agreements in the 7th century BCE. Around the same time, ancient Persians would clasp each other's hands and turn them up to show the palms. And they weren't the only ones. People in many other cultures around the world also developed their own versions of this custom. But why was it so widespread? One reason may be that it was a compromise. Many animals show submission by rolling over and exposing their bellies, which are very vulnerable. But humans aren't animals. So showing your palm instead of your belly may have been a way to convey the same meaning without totally humiliating yourself. Your palm is vulnerable too, so it was a risk. And that risk meant that you had to trust the other person not to take advantage of you. For centuries, the handshake remained the exclusive domain of men. Women typically greeted each other with a kiss on the cheek. That is, until the 19th century, when the custom started to change. Queen Victoria wasn't fond of kissing. She had enough of that during her tour of the US in 1860 when everyone she met tried to plant one on her. So upon her return to England, she started shaking hands with people instead. Her popularity made the gesture acceptable for women, and soon they were shaking hands in Europe and America. And while we're on the subject, let's quickly go through how people say hello to each other in other cultures. In many Asian countries, such as China and Japan, people will bow to show respect. The deeper the bow and the longer it lasts, the more respect it shows. In India, people will often put their hands together in a prayer-like position and slightly bow their head. In some African cultures, people will clap their hands together and stamp their feet to show excitement. And in many Latin American countries, it's common to kiss someone on both cheeks. Now, back to the handshake. When COVID-19 hit and people were ordered to stay 6 feet apart, the handshake was in trouble. At first, some politicians and business people kept shaking hands, even though everyone knew they shouldn't. Then they switched to waving or even bowing. Some countries even came up with new ways to greet each other. The president of Chile suggested the Emilian, which involves extending your arm, bending your elbow, and moving your fingers like a wave. Everyone stays at a safe distance and you avoid touching anything gross like another person. Will the handshake survive the pandemic? Who knows? But just remember, if you do shake someone's hand, you're participating in a tradition that goes back thousands of years. You're trusting that they won't hurt you. And in a strange way, that makes both of you a little bit vulnerable. If you enjoyed this video, you can watch another one here. Thanks for watching. Hit the like button and subscribe and leave a comment.